Chalk it. Chalk it. Chalk it all. Chalk it all up to the alphabets, to chalk marks, to children chewing chocolate, to choosing sides, to cheering Chuck Klein, Charlie Root, to checking the answers. Chalk it all. Chalk it up to learning what to say, from Pacelli, Spellman, Sheen, Pius 10 and 12, to old men ranting, to pledge our allegiance, to prelates chanting in church. Chalk it up to old men checking to find me out, to well-dressed cops, to one old man chuckling greetings to Charles. Chuck it up to chance, to checkpoints, to chicken out, to chevrons, to chaplains soothing corpses. Chalk the shrewd comedians, chalk Al Jolson, Bob Hope, and charities. Chalk it up to those great boys, our boys, and their chums, face down in the mud, chilled to the broken bone, to worms at lunch under choppers churning, to charge 5, fuse quick, shell H-E, to chunk, to chalk dust, to chunk, chunk, to marrow, to chunk, 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 to Charlie 6, to Charlie, I read you, will do, over, out. And chalk it all. Chalk it up to raising the board and cleaning the erasers and chiding the children and chalking their bones. And chalk it all. Chalk all old men and alphabets and chartling traitors sending greetings. And chalk you. Chalk it all. Chalk you. Chalk it. Chalk it all. Preliminary report from Dr. Petos, geotherapist. As with everyone, his life lies in the recounting. He is in our nursing home now, composing his life. What matters is the afterthought, the creative, mendacious afterthought, anti-psychological concoctions. He rides through every weather, hikes through blizzards, swims through hurricanes, bats fungos in the fog. Occasionally, like Julius Caesar, he recounts his exploits in the third person singular. It is worth nothing, incidentally, that he dates the events of his life quite untendentiously. It is worth noting as well that his most stunning thoughts occur within a twilight of mind, a mental crepuscule, hypergogic on either quartering edge of sleep. He thinks of them as nocturnes. I would say he's better at bed than bedcock. Penmanship. I dropped the pen nib into the blue inkwell, marshalling all we need to know in lovely cursive servile script. I, trained in Palmer method, approached and push-pulls by the Sisters of the Iron Cross, aware of our developing sphere beautifully encased, ovals and push-pulls. Nuns and pupils, we, chased the serpent off with quick ejaculations, and God, feminist perhaps, forgave. Already banging backward from any feature, I, wasted my superapprobation, mine and all the tall appraisers, nuns and priests and God, ubiquitous, everywhere. Everywhere, then evaluating scene, in sleep, with Mrs. Mary, Grace and Gloria, wanting curves, I, making push-pulls in dreams, I, in real shell holes, then here in no man's land, I push hard human into German guts and pull the wet blade free before we wake and wash and walk to school. Arguments from Design, 1933, 1980, 1930. In the damp sockets of Charles' eyes move an image. Plump maggots scrounging a turtle shell. 47 years ago, a bright ceramic cleansed by scavengers. Succulent in the cranium, his brain survives, at times considering commonplace concavities. Sweaty thimbles, salad bowls, and pots. Guarded cantaloupes with worry rinds and reddish-orange flesh. Nutshells, umbrellas, Yankee Stadium. Suddenly again, from nearly 40 years ago, the front page picture of a fallen Chinaman, through wide open, his skull is yet within his skin, beside an empty helmet. Nocturnes from early films. Dogfight, 1928. Through the quiet bedroom's restless skies, I fly my Fokker, camel on my tail, decorated by an albatross. I dispatch 3 Spads. Blimps burst, and all night long Teutonic conflagrations near the dark around the cockpit in my cot, while God, the grown-up, watches from afar the fall of Sparrows, Cambrai, Camelot, and the cities of the plain. At PS4, I swoop and fire on the teaching staff, wound the principal, back and swerve east-northeast to battered Armentières, where, spying frightened relatives, I strafe and watch them flee across the bedroom floor. 2. Autopsy, 1928. A corpse and several cops and a single corpse, murdered by a machine gun, complete with gleaming cartridges, for $1.49 at Abraham and Strauss. Went black, into 4 little worlds of breaming blood, and the courage of the victim trickled out, complicating quietly the colors of the rug, turning dark and dry before the cops arrived. To copy down, 1 tear in the tear, 2 hurts in the brows, but never the name of Chuck the Avenger, who always managed to be known as Pat when he carried a heater, when he carried a gat. All quiet on the Western Front. Unspent bullets, bright as gems, mean as teeth, threatened the silence, seasoned the darkness, parent sculpture hiding in the bedroom. The warm clock holes, start snipers flare from window wells, cannon from the number shell, bullets zip past glittering spiked helmets. Long zeppelins ignite, towers tremble, totter, fall. A long explosion, through silence, shame, a final discharge, armistice and shame, soft spent silence, shame. That is all.
Yes.
Biology 1, 1934, 1957. Brother Gilbert intoned, "Boys, ah boys, remember Ruth and forget about old Darwin," who was, we knew, an atheist and kind of foreign, and claimed we came from apes who came from fish who learned to fly or crawl and climb old trees and then climb down again and learn to walk upright and use the thumb and think and talk and master Latin and pitch and hit home runs. Ah, the babe, boy. Just last night, still hearing him, I sank through sleep and illiterate leagues of ancient oceans down to the salty womb of everyone. There a killer whale Sleepily all, surprised the spotlights, sharing in high night, stares through fields and merging centuries, metamorphoses and mists, spires and temporary towers, towering chambers of power sharply aloft in high night, about the last evaporation and the blank obituaries of tigers, orioles, cardinals, cubs, giants, Indians, senators, Reds, Braves, Pirates, Boston, Brooklyn, Washington, New York, the Yankees. Ah, the Braves. Take us in, mister. 1930s, 1944. One hot day, an old man with bad teeth, a tough tattoo and a scary smile, gave us our tickets, one to me, one to Jack McCain. Winked twice and walked away. Inside, Buster Crabbe, young, decent, dead, and tied to the saddle of a terrified horse, galloped home across the plains. Take us in, mister? Far from the jungle where Buster Crabbe swung through the past, perfecting sleeves and killing malevolent beasts. Take us in, mister? Far from Mars and luminous castles, where Buster spurned the lure of Princess Aura. Take us in, mister? Buster Crabbe survived like Jesus Christ, to be served to separate apparitions. Take us in, mister? Far from the tropical sniper in a federal tree who slighted Corporal John McCain, serial numbers 1215373. Asymptote, 1945. You must remember this as time goes by. As time goes by, there'll come a time when time will start to stop going by. And when it stops, the bogeys go. But that won't matter. You won't know. In April 1944, Corporal Cyril Markowitz tore the limbs and head from a musical doll dressed in a German uniform. He spared his trunk to all we could have the pain of its delicious tone. Meanwhile, dead of artillery vibes, on a misty afternoon, nobody noticed the doll was gone. It's still the same old story. You can't know the loss of a paint kid where the empty curve of life kid hit the crazy line of death. Bogey, an imaginary source of fear. Bogey, a bugbear. Bogey, an evil goblin. Bogey, a screen image that is unidentified but hostile. That is all.